oh man, I am so happy to be back. Took a little hiatus last week, so we didn't have any kind of weekly last week, but we are literally jumping back on the horse this week. If you are new to my channel, my name is Ashley, and I mostly specialize in those, or helping those that are intraday, day trader, and swing traders. So if you are more of a scalper, I'm sure that there's probably better information, or for a slightly more accurate, a slightly more accurate trading career, if that's something that you are looking for. So I would like to just go ahead and kind of get started in an attempt to keep the video short. We're also going to be kind of touching a bit on psychological levels and what to look for and how to find them in my way that I find it easiest to find psychological levels, so that will help you to know kind of a place to look when you are actually in the midst of a trade, and you can kind of look out for that. So while you're in the middle of it, you can check to see what candles are actually printing on those psych levels, and that'll give you actually more confirmation. So we are going to be using the we are going to be using the MetaTrader, the TradingView platform today, because for some reason my Forex.com platform trading account, my demo, is acting kind of funky, and I don't know what happened to it. So no problem. We are going to use this chart, and we are going to use black candles this time. So part of the reason why the name of the account is called TRADENBLK is because trading with all black candles helps with psychology as well. So I thought, what a great idea to do a psychological level video along with the psychologics when it comes down to not worrying about the color of the candle, but more so market structure and what it's doing, so that you don't scare yourself. Listen, if you're scaring yourself in the middle of your trade, though, that probably means that you are already risking too much, and risk management is a whole nother video and a whole nother pie, so we'll just have to do that another time. But you should not be scared while you are taking trades, but having black candles, checking for those confluences, will help you to become a bit more confident. So let's go ahead, we'll get started. Starting with AU. So I'm going to start on the monthly, simply because we're getting ready to start a new month of August, for all the Virgos. Happy birthday, and I will say that to myself as well. Let's take a peek at kind of where the market is headed and where it's been in the past, and if we're looking at the monthly. So if you're looking at the monthly from a monthly standpoint, it almost looks as though we could possibly be seeing some consolidation. I do see the price looks like it is rejecting here. It's rejected what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 5 times to the upside. So it looks like maybe it tried to get back up there about 5 times and was not able to, and kind of failed. We'll definitely have to keep an eye. It looks like we're in a bit of consolidation, but we're also rejecting to the upside, because that could potentially mean that we could see some bearish movement. So let's go to the weekly real quick. All right. So peeking at the weekly, kind of the same scenario. It's looking like a lot of consolidation. However, last week's candle ended in a very bearish direction, but we are still getting a little bit of pullback here, and that has been over, well, it skipped a week, but if we're including this candle here, it did skip a week, but it looks like it has been some previous rejection here, hence probably why we're seeing a lot of that consolidation there. Let's jump down real quick to the daily. Okay, so on the daily, let me stretch this guy out a bit. Kind of the same. And then you can also use that as confirmation. Like if you're seeing the weekly, the daily, the monthly, the 4 hour, and they're all kind of looking the same, they're all showing you that everything is kind of condensed, nothing is really moving, not going up and down, then you can kind of use that as confluence. Or if you're checking like a trend, and you're checking on the daily, the weekly, the monthly, and it's all going in the same direction, use that as confirmation as well. But as for right now, I do see the price had held here pretty strong. I'll wait to see this week coming to see if we'll be able to get kind of past this mark right here. But with that as well, we're also really close to what appears to be, actually I'm going to back up real quick, a psych level. So I want to show you kind of the method that I use that's kind of easiest for me to see what psych levels are. So I wait. Okay, so when you're using this bar over to the side, you could always use this as well. You know what I'm saying? Like you can use this as kind of like your guide. This is what I use just to show me kind of clear levels. Things to look out for are those even numbers. Those are where the banks are going to trade at, and that's where it's going to be the best for you to trade at as well. Let me try to see what's going on. Let's see if I can stretch it out. Okay, so if you're sitting and it looks like this, a little less numbers, then you can kind of, you know, you can kind of mark up your chart. So this is what I have on my other chart, my chart that is not showing right now. Let's go. Let's actually start where price is at. You see where it says 0.66000. So we're going to actually throw something here. Remember, or it's also very important to remember, I am going to throw these up on here as psychological levels, but just something to keep in mind. Here, we're going to go a little thinner just so that it's not so big. I'm going to put a line. However, come on, dude, what's going on? This is not going to let me change it. Let's see. If you are using, what in the entire fuck? Wait a minute. Okay, let's go forward one. Okay, there we are. I just got to get this. For some reason, I am struggling to, okay, maybe that's me. I haven't used this platform in forever. I don't know why this is not allowing me to change the price. I'm trying to get it exact. But you can usually get it pretty close to, but also keep in mind with this straight line, you don't have to wait for price to see, you know, to see it get exactly there. You can also just use an area, because more than likely, or 9 times out of 10, you're going to see it hit an area rather than just a simple price at that exact level. So maybe it'll be best that we just use kind of levels. Usually what I do on my chart, and then I leave them there. You can even put these little dotted lines in gray so that they're not as prevalent, or you don't see them as much, but only when you're going to make, you know, make choices on which way to go, you can see them in the kind of the background. But on my current chart, they are set up exactly. So I'm sitting at, let's see, let me try to grab this guy. I don't know if I can get it as close to this 800 mark as possible. There, that's probably the closest. And 700. So all these are going to be these even numbers. 72. Where'd you go? 72, 72, 72, 72. There we go. That's as close as I can get. All of these even numbers, and I'm just looking over here to my right. All these even numbers. That's probably as close as I can get. Are going to be your bank levels to look out for. But also keep in mind, so I'm going to show it to you kind of when I get down to, like, let's say if we went to either the daily or maybe even the 4 hour. So if we go to the 4 hour, another number to kind of look out for is that half number. Usually the half number is at like the 69500. So I'm actually looking at this and I think I might have put the levels on kind of the wrong, or it's jacking me up mentally. But anyway, another place to look at when looking in between, because as you can tell, some of these levels are very large spaces, large amounts of space. But another place to look when you're placing trades, or another place to look for confluence, is kind of sitting in the middle at that halfway point of where you placed, or where you have your psychological levels at. So you have your psychological levels, and then you have the 0.5. So it's like you have 1, you got 1.5, and you got 2. Then you got, after 2, you got 2.5, and you got 3. After 3, then you got 3.5, and you got 4. So that middle number that kind of sits in between is also a very common number, or a common even number, where the banks are going to trade at. So you also want to watch for what kind of action is happening on those in-betweens as well. See if there's candles that are printing. Are there any kind of patterns, like a double top? Are there tweezer bottom, tweezer tops? Stuff like that, head and shoulders that are printing on that area. That's going to give you even more confirmation as to what is to be expected with prices going to do in watching market structure. Okay, so moving over, let's see. Okay, so we're on the what? We're on the 4 hour. Moving over, and because I'm glad I kind of put this right here so we can kind of see what price is getting ready to do, or what price could potentially do. I won't be making any kind of trades on AU until I can see like a break. I'm waiting to see a breakthrough before I could even make one. Otherwise, we could potentially see some consolidation this week. Or we could just see price bounce back down off of this and head right back up. So we'll just have to see what happens. What I'm learning, like, I would love to be able to get on here and be like, hey, this is what it's doing. This is not what it's doing. But I can't do that. And that wouldn't, I don't feel like that would be super helpful to you. I would really love it for you guys to kind of get your own edge, to be able to pick up, okay, like the market is going to do this, or you can't always guarantee what the market is going to do. And it's kind of like you have to watch it through the week to see exactly what's going to happen. So I hope that the weekly videos are still super helpful. And if it's not, maybe we'll just start to break it down into like lessons rather than the weekly forecast. You let me know in the comments what you think is more helpful. Okay, so based on this, for the weekly, or for AU, I should say, I'm waiting to see what's going to happen when price gets here. I'm not going to make any moves. That's another thing. If you don't know what if you don't know what the market is doing, don't make any moves. Don't try to make a trade out of something that is not there. If you don't know, or if you're seeing a lot of consolidation, just wait. Put a box around the consolidation until it clears up, so you know exactly what's happening, or you know what you're looking at when you come back to look at the chart, instead of, trying to, this is going to be a very large box considering that this is the weekly, but don't force it. Don't force a trade. It's not gonna, the market is always gonna be here. You don't have to force a trade if it's not there. Why would you force one when you can wait for a really good move? Example right here, and then go ahead and collect some of that. So don't force anything. It's really not worth it, honestly. So as for AU, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to see what's going to be happening for this week coming up, to see if the market actually reaches down here, which I do believe it can. And then we'll just have to see what happens with price once it reaches here. I am someone that only does a 1 to 2 or more. I don't do a 1-to-1 as much, but if that's your forte, then that's all good. It's all in what works best for you. But this to me looks like it would be a 1-to-1, because essentially my stop loss would be just above here, and I'd have to leave enough room, and there would probably barely be any pip, to kind of equate or be a little bit more than where my stop loss is placed. So to conclude on AU, I'll be waiting. Let's switch over to EU. So on EU, totally forgot I was on the hourly. Let's switch over to the monthly, because it is a new month. I'm gonna squeeze down. I haven't used TradingView in what feels like ages, so bear with me. Oh shit, you see what I'm saying? All right, here we're backing up. Let's get this guy off of here. There's like previous stuff on here that I've used forever ago. Okay, so let's squeeze this out a bit, just so we don't need to go that far back. It is a little more helpful on a slightly bigger time frame, but I think to here should be fine. So we'll just have to see what's going on. So as of right now, even though price is headed up, it looks like this is a very much bearish market. And I think I'm seeing a pattern kind of with AU and EU as of right now. So I'm thinking that we're probably going to be close to the same all around the board, but don't quote me on that, because at the end of last week, AU was kind of up and everything else was kind of down. So we'll just have to see. And they kind of fluctuated and went a little bit back and forth, and they weren't like really on the same accord. So let's switch over again. Let me scoot over, because I look at Wick as well. There's a lot of factors to look into, right? And you want to keep an eye on some of those factors. I should probably put the psychologicals on here too. Let's do that real quick, just so that you can get a feel for it and you have some really good examples. So that's the 0.5. Let's go. I could probably even squeeze this up or squeeze it out a little bit further. Let's see. No, we're just going to use this. So, boom. Let's see how close I can get to it. Boom, boom, boom. That's probably, 19 is probably where we're at. That's probably going to be close to the mid. This one will be, it's kind of on the in-between. The next one will be here. It's actually kind of almost on it. So we'll go, let's see, 1.2. 1.1 is probably all up in here. I'm just gonna put 1 in here. Ooh, that's probably as close as we're gonna get to 1.1. And then that was 1.2, 1.3 is gonna be up here. Let me get closer, as close as I can. Let me see if it's gonna let me edit it. It's not, I don't know why. Okay, no problem. But you get the idea. So we got what? One flat, well, kind of, because that's not letting me change it. 1 flat, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on and so forth. We'll use those midpoints, because as you can see, like over here, price stopped at the midpoint, or mid area, we'll say, quote unquote. Okay, so let's move forward. I want to try not to make it too long of a video, so we'll go back to the daily, kind of where we left off, because we already kind of analyzed the weekly and the monthly. So let's take a peek and see what we are looking at here. Okay, so kind of the same. Price does look like it's headed up though. We could potentially be seeing this right here, this area, right where the price is at and where it previously stopped, which means it's a bank level. We could potentially see that being used as something more of a resistance, support down here. We'll just have to see exactly what price is doing, because essentially it looked like it was headed up, making higher high, higher low, higher high. I'm getting ready to possibly make the next part of the higher low, and then we'll see another leg up. So we'll just have to see what happens. Again, looking at stuff on the weekly and the monthly, it's bigger scale. So if you're going to be making a shorter term trade, then you can always scale down to the daily, to the 4 hour, to the 1 hour, to make to take up some of those gains on if it's going to be making a smaller move to the downside if it's headed up in a bullish direction. So we'll just have to see exactly what's going to happen for the week. Let me jump down to the 4 hour just to double check, cause see, like on the daily, looks like we're headed down, right? Looks like we're headed up. Sorry, looks like we're headed up on the daily, but on the 4 hour, looks like we could potentially be headed down in a downward position, or looking for a downward position or a bearish position. But we'll just have to wait to see exactly what's going to happen. What I'm mainly waiting for, let me back up, is to see price either reject upward up here, so price going back up there to test this area again and failing, or to see price coming back or trying to come back down here and failing. One or the other. Either way, the best way to keep track of that, so you don't have to sit in front of your computer all week, is to track price. So, oh shit, I haven't used this again in forever. So I'm just going to use, let me see, I'm going to use the, where is it? Horizontal ray as an example of where I'll be putting my alerts on my current account. So it'll be like something like this. So basically, we're going to just pretend like these are alerts. I'd be basically, which I believe I could use, but I haven't paid for an account on here because I don't really use TradingView. But to each their own. It does have a lot of good tools that are super helpful. But what I'll be doing is just using these two as my price alerts, so that way I know while it's kind of doing its thing and consolidating back and forth, as soon as it goes to make a move either to the upside, breaking through that previous resistance space, then it'll let me know, and I'll know, okay, price is headed up. We're no longer in either consolidation or headed quote unquote down on the 1 hour. Or same as vice versa, same with the bottom. I'll just be waiting to see what price is going to do in the meantime, and then that way I don't have to watch my computer as long as I have my alerts set on. So we're just waiting. It's going to be a lot of waiting this week. Got to sit on your hands. Okay, so let's go to GU and let's go back to the monthly. Let's get back. I don't know why I have that. Well, I haven't used this again in forever, so who knows? It could be anything. Let me scroll back. Let's take that guy off just so that we're not confused. Okay, so we'll draw bank levels on the weekly. So as of right now, looks like price has projected to the upside. Anytime you see, like when I meant to say this earlier, and maybe I did, but let me reiterate. When you see a wick that's sitting like this is how I imagine it. This is price. This is active price right here, just up in here, up in this little swoop here. Let me make it bigger. So it makes sense. So I consider this to be like active price, and then I consider this to be price running away from whatever. You can kind of use your own imagination. But when I see price kind of pulling to one side, I consider that to be running from. So I'm like, okay, price is running from and rejecting to the upside. Kind of, this is a really good example. You see how long the wick is here, and it was kind of running from the downside, and then we managed to see price get all the way up to here. This is kind of the same thing that's happening, or that what has happened in the month of June thus far. Of course, we're not complete. We still have a couple more days left in June, but you can see the price is essentially running from the upside. We are still in a bit of consolidation until we can, get past these levels, setting up our alerts. But until then, let me switch up to the weekly. Until then, I'm probably not going to be making any trades. So let's see. Let me go ahead and let me set this up. Okay, let's try to get this as close as possible. We'll start with 15. And then we'll do 1.4. I don't know if I'm going to get close. There we go. 1.3. Oops. 1.3. 1.3. Nope. There we go. That's as close as I can get. Oh, okay. 1.2. 1.2. Where you at? Where you at? All right. There we are. Okay. So that's enough. I try not to make it too crazy so that the screen isn't too cluttered. But this is a good place to show you kind of where that halfway mark is at, sitting right about in the middle. But also just keep in mind, don't just use a line and expect it to hit just that line. It has to be like an area. It's not going to be always exact, but this is a good guide for you. Switching over to the daily. Let's see if we can see anything other than on the daily. I doubt it though. It's looking real sit on your hands and wait kind of week, which is fine because there's also a lot of news this week. So hopefully it'll start us out for a really good month for August in some really good direction, so we know what to do for the rest of the month. It's the same thing, man. I'm seeing the same fucking thing. So this area is it's holding at this area, but this could essentially be a pullback. We just have to wait to see, is price going to be able to get up here and surpass this part. This is the only thing, it getting past here. So it looks like, again, we're starting to see, where's my brush? We're starting to see higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. I'm waiting to see if it gets to another higher high for that third leg, and then only to about there. If you see price going further than that, that means the trend is over. So you need to leave it, get out, get out quickly. But what I'm looking to see is price make that third leg. So I'll be keeping an eye on it for sure. Maybe I'll have to make some type of short for you guys this week, so we can kind of keep an eye on it together. But I am looking for price to make this third leg, but I need confirmation first. I'm waiting on that. I have to see price continue to reject this downside before I go ahead to make my decision on that. So we're waiting. We're sitting on our hands and we're waiting. It's probably going to be the same scenario all the way around the board. So let me grab this off of here just so that it's not in the way and it looks all crazy. Okay. So again, I'm trapping price. Alert here. Grab this guy. I'm like, okay, show me what, let's get this over, sorry. Alert. I'm setting an alert there. I'll even set one down here just a little bit below, so that when this is on the 4 hour or the 1 hour, so I may even do it a little bit bigger, when it comes down to the alert. I'd probably wait or give it a little more room. But I'm waiting to see what price is going to do. Is it going to consolidate? Are we going to see a push to the upside, where my stop loss would just be just below here? We're going to see a push to the downside, and my stop loss would actually be just probably above here. You have a little less room, or a little less risk rather. So that is for GU. Let's hop over to UJ. So for UJ, let's see what we got going on. Let's start on the weekly. I hope this is making sense. Let's see. Oops, sorry. Start on the monthly. New month. Okay, so usually again with the base and the quote. If USD is first on the base, it's going to be going the opposite direction as AUD USD, because then USD is on the quote. So we'll just have to see, and maybe they'll correlate this week. We don't know. So as of right now, it looks like price is headed on the upswing for the monthly. I'm not going to put the mid levels on this one. I think you guys have got it. And if not, I can always do a separate video that just kind of helps with that. We're just going to use the monthly for the guidance. So right now it looks like we're headed in an upwards direction, which is great. I'm excited about that. We'll look and see what happens. Let's scoot down to the weekly. That looks like a nice rejection here, which is actually on a bank level, on an even, or a mid, actually, bank level. But still, same thing. It still looks really good. It looks like it's getting some good rejection there. It looks like almost like a shooting star type situation. So we're just going to have to wait to see, or almost like a hammer. We'll see what is going to happen for the upcoming new month and week. Let's scoot down to, or up rather, to the 1 day. So now what I'm doing, kind of the same thing here. You know, it looks like a little bit of consolidation once we start getting down to the lower time frames. I would be waiting. Look at how crazy this looks. I would be setting myself up with a, let me squeeze this guy up a little bit. I would literally be waiting to see if price is able to get past there, which is what it was previously at its last high last week, and then waiting at the same, kind of the same scenario, same area as it was in the previous week. So let's scoot this guy over. I would be waiting to see is price going to be able to break here, and then we'll just be setting up a stop loss just below, actually it's supposed to be actually just below the last. If you're using the 4 hour to enter, if you're using the 15 minute, I'm sure you can get it a little tighter, slightly more sniper entry. But I'll be waiting to see if price going to get past that last high that it was at last week, or is it going to just kind of bounce off of this area, kind of come back down here. We could see some unfortunate consolidation or UJ, sorry, as well. So that is it for the week. Sorry, it was crazy long. I'll definitely put time codes on it so you have a guide. I hope that showing you the Psych levels was helpful. It is super helpful for me because I know that that's where the banks tend to trade at, and it will be super helpful for you, so you'll kind of have an idea as to what to expect in that area, or keep an eye out to see if something is going to happen in that area for confluence. I hope that this was helpful. You guys have a fantastic trading week. Get after it.